I'm Vanessa Cole, co-founder of Cole Climb Builders, and our mission is to provide affordable new homes for families in need.
I'm Katrina Icasa, founder of Icasa Company, and our mission is to rehab homes for affordable home buyers.
We're friends, moms, entrepreneurs, and lovers of all things real estate.
By the way, we're both licensed realtors with a passion to educate on buying and investing in real estate.
Together, we have sold over $30 million in real estate, and our mission is to educate our listeners on buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Welcome to Housing Happy Hour.
So today we're going to talk about option period. In episode 1, we covered option period in the whole home buying roller coaster.
Yes. If you guys hadn't listened to episode 1, make sure you tune in. We discussed the entire process from beginning to end. And so now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into certain terms of the contract.
The details.
Yes. And one of those details is the option period.
Yeah.
And so Katrina and I were just talking about real estate as always. And we're just talking about option period. And if you remember episode 1, the option period is where you have your time to do your due diligence.
That's right.
So you're paying the seller a small fee, typically around $100 with a personal check. And you're saying, I want to inspect your property to make sure that this house is solid.
Right.
And the important thing about that, guys, is although you're paying $100 to inspect the property, you just paid about $1,000 or $2,000 for earnest money to show good faith that you wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all of that is because if you miss that option period deadline for you to renegotiate on anything that you found, you could lose that $1,000 to $2,000.
Right.
And Katrina almost lost her clients that money. So, which I thought was really good because as a professional, you know, we have so many deadlines that we have to meet, and we're guiding our clients through this. But before we get started in that, I want to know why you chose to get into real estate. So, you know, our listeners can kind of get a background of us.
Well, so when I was a kid, my grandfather, he always bought tax liens, and he bought properties at the auction for the county. And so he had a lot of properties, but one thing he always said was, you need to buy land. That's one thing that God's not going to make more of. And so that always kind of stuck with me. So I was always a little bit interested in real estate. But then when I graduated college in 2008, that was when the market crashed. There were no jobs. There was, it was just like, so we were renting in a 4-plex in downtown Oklahoma City. And there was an older gentleman that owned the building, and he was so cute, and he would come and he would be fixing things in any of the properties. And I was always picking his brain when he was there, just talking to him. And he owned over 100 properties, and that was his retirement, his life. And he fixed what he could fix more just for the passion of it. Yeah. And then he hired people to fix the bigger things. Yeah. But I knew at that moment, there was no way I was going to put my livelihood and my retirement into the stock market. I was like, it's going to be real estate. That's it.
Yeah.
So I knew at some point I wanted to get my license, mostly for myself, so that I could be informed and be able to do those transactions without all the fees.
Right.
So that's how I started. And really the love of the investment side grew from there. It was like, I love working with investors. My biggest passion is buying a home, and like it smells, it's disgusting.
Yeah.
And going in there and just totally renovating it.
Fixing it up.
Totally brand new home. I love that. The design aspect.
For some of you that are just now tuning in, our background, real estate background, Katrina's the flipper. I'm new construction builder, and we're both licensed.
Yes.
So that's how this partnership love came about.
Yes.
So good. I'm glad. I wanted people to hear your background before we got dive into the option period.
Right.
Because just framing, just them get an idea. So let's get into the option period.
Tell us
what happened? Because you missed the deadline.
I missed the deadline. So it was my very first client, straight out of passing my test. And I was so excited. This was literally my first week of having a license. And I think I'm like hot shot. Like, I've got this.
Yes.
We went and saw maybe 3 or 4 homes. They loved this home to the point that my buyer wanted to buy the furniture even. Like, oh, see if I can buy this, this, and this.
Yeah.
So we submitted everything. We were accepted. Our offer was accepted. And then we go into our option period. And we had it inspected. We paid a great inspector, the guy I always use. And he found a few minor things. One of the ones that I remember the most was the leaky shower faucet. And I go and I submit our amendment to all these items.
Yeah.
And
we're here to renegotiate these terms. You were confident, right?
Yes. And the other agent writes me back, "I'm sorry, but the option period ended yesterday." I was like, oh my God. I did cry at that point because I'm like, how am I going to tell these people that I totally bombed on them?
Yes.
And
so let's back up. So guys, remember the option period is now you've paid an inspector to inspect the property. And before that deadline of the option period, usually you have like 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
Before that deadline, you have to have the property already inspected. You have to have already reviewed the inspection report. And as Katrina said, have your amendment already ready with the repairs that you want to negotiate.
Right.
And what Katrina is saying is that she missed that deadline.
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
So pretty much the $400 they paid for the inspection was down the drain. The items that they wanted fixed before closing, gone. Usually when you submit the amendment, it's either I want these items fixed prior to my walkthrough, or I want you to give me this money in lieu of these repairs.
Absolutely.
And so we were just asking for them to fix those minor things. So yeah, and then I had to tell them, and they were disappointed, I'm sure, but it wasn't like, you're the worst ever.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we made it to closing. They still loved the home, and I just gifted them with a gift card to Home Depot to help with my mistake.
Yeah. That's so good. Like sometimes it's just one of those things, like you think you're doing everything right, and then right? Yeah. Something just falls through the crack.
Well, like you said, there's a lot. As the agent, you have to keep up with all the moving parts, and you're in contact with every person involved in the deal. And so those deadlines, if you're not like on top of it, they can get away from you quickly. And also a lot of them are at this day by, 5:00 business day on this day.
Yeah.
And so you need to keep up with all the technical details.
Right.
Which I failed to do on that one.
And I was telling Katrina, there was a time where I went under contract with a property and I forgot to deliver the option fee. And we got all the way down. I mean, luckily I was buying land for our new homes and there's not much to inspect, just doing a survey. The soil, we know with the soil. But it got down to closing. And so here's another thing, that option fee can be credited back to the buyer or not credited.
Right, at the closing table. So when it got to closing and we had like 5 lots, so it was like $500 in option fee, and it showed that it was being credited back to me, the buyer. Right.
But they were crediting something I never even paid. And I was like, oh, $500, in my pocket. But it was one of those things where I called the title company. I was like, hey, and the seller, I was like, hey, I never even delivered this to you. And I don't know what maybe the contractual or the consequence to that is. I don't know if maybe they could have done anything. I don't know if you don't deliver it.
No, I don't know.
You don't deliver
I've
it.
never experienced that.
It's a question
That's a
that
question we need to follow up on.
Find out more on. But I contacted the title company and the seller and I informed them, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't deliver this. So I just want to make sure you guys aren't reimbursing me for something I never delivered. And moving forward, if we purchase from you again, I'll make sure it's delivered in a timely manner. And they were fine about it too.
That's great to hear. Like you were in good faith.
Yeah.
You did an honorable way of calling. You could have just walked away from it with it. The extra $500.
But I think and that's what I think one thing that we share in common, it is just making sure like, hey, we just want to do a good job. We want to make sure that our practices are ethical and we're human. Yeah. So we too make mistakes.
Right.
Even when you're trying to perform at the highest level of professionalism.
Right.
So, but other than that, I mean, that's it. That's the option period. That's the time
that you're going to do your due diligence.
Yeah.
Like that time is an important time. It might not seem like it, but it definitely is.
Yeah. So thanks guys for tuning in. Make sure you send us an email, housinghappyhour@gmail.com. Please subscribe, give us 5 stars, comments, tell us what you want to hear. We have received a few comments and emails about interviewing a lender.
Yes.
So we're lining that up right now.
Tuned.
So we'll go over all the lending products for you guys, but stay tuned for next episode.
Thank you guys. Bye.